On this day in history, June 10th, 1190, as part of the Third Crusade, Frederick I Barbarossa drowns in the river Saleph while leading an army to Jerusalem. Included in the following is an excerpt from the 1944 edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica, going over the history of Frederick. Frederick I, circa 1123 to 1190, Holy Roman Emperor, called Barbarossa or Redbeard by the Italians, was the son of Frederick II of Hohenstaufen, Duke of Swabia, and Judith, daughter to Welf Henry IX, Duke of Bavaria. When his father died in 1147, Frederick became Duke of Swabia, and immediately afterwards accompanied his uncle, the German king Conrad III, on his disastrous crusade, during which he won the complete confidence of the king. In 1152, the dying king advised the princes to choose Frederick as his successor to the exclusion of his own young son. Frederick was chosen German king at Frankfurt on March 5, 1152, and crowned at Aix-la-Chapelle on the 9th, owing his election partly to his personal qualities, and partly to the fact that he united in himself the blood of the rival families of Welf and Waiblingen. The new king saw clearly that the restoration of order in Germany was a necessary preliminary to the enforcement of the imperial rights in Italy. Issuing a general order for peace, he was prodigal in his concessions to the nobles. Abroad, Frederick decided a quarrel for the Danish throne in favor of Svend, or Peter as he is sometimes called, who did homage for his kingdom, and negotiations were begun with the East Roman Emperor, Manuel Comnenus. About this time he obtained a divorce from his wife Adela, on the ground of consanguinity, and made a vain effort to obtain a bride from the court of Constantinople. On his accession, Frederick had communicated the news of his election to Pope Eugenius III, but neglected to ask for the papal confirmation. But a treaty was concluded between king and pope at Constance in March 1153, by which Frederick promised in return for his coronation to make no peace with Roger II, king of Sicily, or with the rebellious Romans without the consent of Eugenius, and, generally, to help and defend the papacy. The journey to Italy made by the king in 1154 was the precursor of 5 other expeditions which engaged his main energies for 30 years, during which the subjugation of the peninsula was the central and abiding aim of his policy. He was crowned Emperor of Rome on June 18, 1155. He left Italy in the autumn of 1155 to prepare for a new and more formidable campaign. Disorder was again rampant in Germany, especially in Bavaria, but general peace was restored by Friedrich's vigorous measures. Bavaria was transferred from Henry II Jasmorgat, Margrave of Austria, to Henry the Lion, Duke of Saxony, and the former was pacified by the erection of his Margravite into a duchy, while Friedrich's stepbrother Conrad was invested with the Palatine of the Rhine. On June 9, 1156, the king was married at Würzburg to Beatrix, daughter and heiress of the dead Count of Upper Burgundy, Renaud III. When Upper Burgundy, or Franche-Comté, as it is sometimes called, was added to his possessions. An expedition into Poland reduced Duke Boleslaw IV to submission, after which Frederick received the homage of the Burgundian nobles at Besancon in October 1157. In June 1158, Frederick set out upon his second Italian expedition, during which imperial officers called podestas in the cities of northern Italy captured revolt in Milan, and the long struggle began with Pope Alexander III, who excommunicated the emperor on March 2, 1160. During this visit, Frederick summoned the doctors of Bologna to Roncaglia in November 1158, and as a result of their inquiries into the rights belonging to the Kingdom of Italy, he obtained a large amount of wealth. Returning to Germany towards the close of 1162, Frederick prevented a conflict between Henry the Lion, Duke of Saxony, and a number of neighboring princes, and severely punished the citizens of Mainz for their rebellion against Archbishop Arnold. In 1163, his plans for the conquest of Sicily were checked by a powerful league against him provoked by the exactions of the podestas and the enforcement of the rights declared by the doctors of Bologna. Frederick had supported an anti-pope Victor IV against Alexander, and on Victor's death in 1163, a new anti-pope called Pascal III was chosen to succeed him. At a diet in Würzburg in May 1165, he took an oath, followed by many of the clergy and nobles, to remain true to Pascal and his successors. A temporary alliance with Henry II, King of England, the magnificent celebration of the canonization of Charlemagne at Aix-la-Chapelle, and the restoration of peace in the Rhineland occupied Friedrich's attention until October 1166, when he made his fourth journey to Italy. Having captured Ancona, he marched to Rome, stormed the Leonine city, and procured the enthronement of Pascal and the coronation of his wife, Beatrix. But the sudden outbreak of pestilence destroyed the German army and drove the emperor to Germany. During the next 6 years, the imperial authority was asserted over Bohemia, Poland, and Hungary. Friendly relations were entered into with the Emperor Manuel, and a better understanding was sought with Henry II, King of England, and Louis VII, King of France. In 1174, Friedrich made his fifth expedition to Italy. The campaign was a complete failure. The refusal of Henry the Lion to bring help into Italy was followed by the defeat of the emperor at Legnano on May 29, 1176, where he was wounded and believed to be dead. He concluded with Alexander the Treaty of Venice, August 1177, and at the same time a truce with the Lombard League was arranged for 6 years. Friedrich, loosed from the papal ban, recognized Alexander, and in July 1177 knelt before him and kissed his feet. The possession of the vast estates left by Matilda, Marchioness of Tuscany, and claimed by both Pope and Emperor, was to be decided by arbitration, and in October 1178 the Emperor was again in Germany. Henry the Lion was deprived of his duchy and sent into exile. A treaty was made with the Lombard League at Constance in June 1183, and Friedrich's son Henry was betrothed in 1184 to Constance, daughter of Roger I, King of Sicily, and heiress of the reigning king, William II. This betrothal, which threatened to unite Sicily with the empire, made it difficult for Friedrich when during his last Italian expedition in 1184 he met Pope Lucius III at Verona to establish friendly relations with the papacy. The question of Matilda's estates was left undecided, and Lucius had refused to crown Henry or to recognize the German clergy who had been ordained during the schism. Friedrich then formed an alliance with Milan, where the emperor, who had been crowned King of Burgundy, at Arles on July 30th, 1178, had the ceremony repeated, January 27th, 1186, while his son was crowned King of Italy and married to Constance, who was crowned Queen of Germany. The quarrel with the papacy was continued with the new Pope Urban III, and open warfare was begun. But Friedrich was recalled to Germany by the news of a revolt raised by Philip of Heinsberg, Archbishop of Cologne, and instigated by the Pope. Hostilities were checked by the death of Urban and the election of a new pope as Gregory VIII. In 1188, Philip submitted, and immediately afterwards Friedrich joined the Third Crusade. He left Regensburg in May 1189 at the head of a splendid army, and, having overcome the hostility of the Eastern Roman Emperor, Isaac Angelus, marched into Asia Minor. On June 10, 1190, Friedrich was either bathing or crossing the river Kalikadnus, Geksu, near Seleucia, Saleph in Cilicia, when he was drowned. The place of his burial is unknown, and the legend which says he still sits in a cavern in the Kyffhauser mountain in Thuringia, waiting until the need of his country shall call him, is now thought to refer, at least in its earlier form, to his grandson, the Emperor Frederick II. He left by his wife Beatrix 5 sons, of whom the eldest afterwards became emperor as Henry VI. Friedrich encouraged the growth of towns, easily suppressed the few risings against his authority, and took strong and successful measures to establish order in Germany. His power rested upon his earnest and commanding personality, and also upon the support which he received from the German Church, the possession of a valuable private domain, and the care with which he exacted feudal dues from his dependents. Even in Italy, though his general course of action was warped by wrong prepossessions, he in many instances showed exceptional practical sagacity in dealing with immediate difficulties and emergencies. From the beginning, however, he treated the Italians, as indeed was only natural, less as rebellious subjects than as conquered aliens. In appearance, Friedrich was a man of well-proportioned medium stature, with flowing yellow hair and a reddish beard. He delighted in hunting and the reading of history, was zealous in his attention to public business, and his private life was unimpeachable. Carlyle called him a terror to evildoers and a praise to well-doers in this world, probably beyond what was ever seen since.